Good morning.
Morning.
Hope all is well in your world.
My lips are cracking because they're so dry.
Yeah, we're gonna have some very cold weather. Well, I thought we had a really good board meeting in December, and thanks to your good planning, your chart worked wonders.
Oh, good. We probably need to go ahead and get Sharon and I think it was Sharon and Stacy or somebody. I can't remember who exactly it was, to get in touch with, let's see. Hey, if I'm not on the Zoom screen, can you still see me?
I guess it depends. If you are putting up a presentation, sometimes all I see is the slides, or sometimes I see you in a tiny square up on the top or the right or left. But when you talk is when your picture is what fills the screen, unless it's a screen share.
I see. At this moment, I don't have the Zoom screen up. I've got it just minimized because I'm looking at something else.
I can see you. Yes, I can see
You can see my face, but I'm looking at my computer screen. Okay.
Okay, that sounds
That's
good.
what I wanted to know. Okay, so here under February 17th, it says social media refresher course, what's changed? Somebody named Hannah from Mississippi College, and then it says Stacy to contact, and then Sharon student, and then AmeriCorps member.
Mhm. Well, I think the thought was that we were trying to get younger people to share
Yeah.
their technology with us.
Yes.
Because it really what's in their head. They're just different. How they
Well,
communicate. And it's
and
not
I
a bad
don't,
thing. It's
I
just,
know that nobody uses Facebook anymore except old people. I did figure that out,
yeah,
but I don't know what replaced it.
that's just it. There's so many limitations on Instagram, TikTok, all these other things. You cannot easily, the format of Facebook is such that you know where to grab, where they're located, where to message them. It's not clear to me on these other formats, but then I don't really study them. I've looked at Instagram and tried to coordinate some stuff with them on my sister's jewelry. And my niece and her little, and my sister's friend, who's an architect, they have just really clued me in about so much that we don't know, or I don't know, because people my age are doing it the way I do it or had done it. And I'm seeing what they're saying. It's like the image quality is less when you share from Instagram to Facebook. So they're telling me it's best to post directly on both. If you type in @ in the business name or whatever, it's a direct link to wherever you typed it. So if you copied from one to the other, like you copied the Instagram and put it on Facebook, when they hit that link, it takes you back to Instagram. There's so much. Oh, wait, here comes Stacy. Hold on. So did you know all that? I didn't.
I didn't know any of that.
So they already know it. Hey, there's
Good
our
morning.
leader.
How are y'all
Morning.
doing?
Good.
Good. How are you?
Are we the all? I'm great. How are you guys?
We're
Good.
the three of us right now. We're early.
Okay, good. So I'm glad, because did y'all get I know you got it, Elizabeth. What did y'all think about that? And then I sent another flyer, like after the fact, for Miss Mary's birthday fundraiser.
Oh, I just thought that picture was just it was just her. I loved it.
Well,
So
that was, I want to use the picture. Or Tanya came up with the flyer. You want to I want people to see Miss Mary.
That's
because
an authentic picture. She's in her element. She's happy. And that's what you want to do when you celebrate someone's birthday. And it would inspire me to want to do something to help. If that's what you're asking. I thought it was a good selection.
Okay, that's what I'm asking. And then, the one that Tanya came up with was really great. But again, like you're saying, it was a little bit more personable to see her in that element. What do you think, Michelle?
I'm just looking at it now. Is
Okay.
the pink
Sharon
one?
and Jamie, y'all, Sharon and Jamie, I'm admitting them now, so you'll know, okay?
Okay, thank you.
Uh-huh.
Is one of them a Word doc?
Yep.
Okay.
And this is something, we can talk about like after the fact. Good morning, Jamie. Good morning, Sharon. How are y'all doing?
Good morning. Good morning. How's everyone?
Look at that artwork, and you are part of that artwork. You're so colorful. Wow. And I see Jamie
Bundled
here
up
too
this
with her
morning.
background. You're great, but you certainly perked the screen up.
Yeah. Oh, happy
Woo.
New Year, everyone.
Happy New Year.
And I see Jamie in her background too. Wow.
I
Everybody.
love the crosses.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Stacy, you're in your vehicle.
Yeah, I'm around the corner from home. I had to run out this morning because I'm working from home today.
Oh,
So,
okay.
Yeah, I was
It's a
down there
perfect
on
day for that, isn't it?
Yeah, because when I saw all that rain last night, I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm gonna try to drive down. So I try to make those decisions when the weather isn't like we want it to be, sunny and
Absolutely.
all that. So, and I thank God for a leader that allows me to do that, Miss Mary.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Makes a difference.
That was an excellent selection there. She did well to get you.
Yeah, it was all you and Michelle made it happen. I'll never
No,
forget
I
that.
just think it was obvious. You were
We just
sitting-
put
that
the
was an
talent all in the
upstairs
same
thing.
room. Y'all did the hard work.
Yeah. That was just so obvious. That was an elephant in the room, a good elephant. And it was
Michelle, how are you?
I'm well, Sharon. Thank you. I'm good.
Good.
I'm sitting in my living room looking at the sky, and when I woke up this morning, I kept thinking it can't be time to get up. It's still dark out.
wow.
And it was because it was raining.
Yes,
yeah.
yes. All night long, to be exact.
Well, I just want to share this with y'all. If I might get a phone call. So if I disappear, I have not disappeared for good. I just went to answer this phone call and come back from doctor's office. So we're good. And Jamie, I know that you and Tony will be doing the program, and I am not the Zoom queen, but I do know how to make you a host. So when that happens and making y'all hosts, I just plan to let people enter the meeting, and that will be my only role. But Stacy's our president. She kind of keeps us on task with time, and Michelle, and she does marketing and everything. And so she's going to tell us some things we need to do, I guess, before the meeting starts, because Michelle, you were just telling me, we're doing the social media program next
Oh,
month.
actually, this is the perfect time to tell people
Yes.
that before we officially get started.
Yes.
So so for our February the 17th meeting, which will be on Zoom, we've got social media refresher course, or something about social media and what's changed, because people my age still think that Facebook is a thing, and clearly that's not right. So we have here in the presenter box someone named Hannah from Mississippi College. I don't remember who that is. I'm sorry. It says Stacy to contact.
Yes.
And then it says student of Sharon's. And then it says AmeriCorps member. So a three-person panel. Hannah, a student of yours, Sharon, and an AmeriCorps member. And I think that the point of that was that we would like to get some real information from a younger person to tell us, okay, so nobody's seeing your ads anymore because you're not on whatever the new name is of the social media that everybody's on, that I don't know what that is. So if you need any more information, Sharon or Stacy, let me know, so we can coordinate for the February meeting. Good morning, Tony.
Good morning. How's it going?
Tony.
Good.
And let's see, we have one more who's entered. We have a nice group. I was just explaining, Tony, that when I hand the host duties over to you and Jamie, you know this, I'm not a Zoom expert. So all I'm going to do is let people enter the meeting, and I'm leaving it to you all to do your functions. And I know that Michelle has done this some, so she's really far ahead of me. All I'm doing is clicking a button. That's it. But, if I have to leave, I have a phone call, but I haven't left for good. I'll come back. So before we get started, does someone want to officially start the meeting, Stacy?
Yes.
I'd-
Good morning,
going
good
in the
morning, good
house.
morning. Yeah, sorry. I'm trying to get in. I apologize. Probably couldn't hear me because of the garage door. But anyway, I just want to say good morning, and I thank everybody for being here on this cold, cold day, cold, rainy day, I shall say, but a great day. So we have some presenters today. I want to thank them for being on the call, Tony and Jamie. And really, if we don't have anything else, Michelle, I think we should just go ahead and get started with the presentation.
I do have one quick thing that I'd like to say, Madam President, very quick.
Yes.
Okay, great. So just a reminder that no matter whether it's an individual membership or a 4-person organizational membership, they run from January to December. Everybody's expired in December. So it's time now. If you're planning to join, now's the time to do it. That is the whole message. Thank you.
Well, at this point, I'm going to make Jamie a host and Tony a host. I've never done it with 2 people, so let's cross our fingers. Hold on. Do you want to change the host to Jamie? Yes, I do. Okay, let's see. Tony. Well, it didn't let. Okay, well, Jamie, you're first. Apparently, what you have to go back and forth, and I don't know how it works, so it's all yours.
Okay, well, I will pass the torch over to Tony whenever I get finished.
Okay.
Well, good morning, everyone. I'm going to share my screen. Let's see. I haven't done this in Zoom before. Can y'all see my screen?
Yes, yes, yes.
Let's see. Susan Johnson volunteer. Cool. One just came in. Okay, well, I'm Jamie Beatty, and I'm so excited to be with y'all this morning. Just want to give you forewarning. I have a cough. We have COVID in our family. I've tested negative, but we're waiting on other members in my household, and my 9-month-old, the person who keeps her has it. So it's a little chaotic in the Beatty house today. So sorry for what you might hear in the background, and sorry for my fault. But nevertheless, today, speaking of COVID, I want to talk to y'all about the do's and volunteerism during COVID. Like I said, my name is Jamie Beatty. I'm the Central Mississippi Hub Director, and I also serve as a health ambassador with the Mississippi State Department. I meet with Dr. Dobbs, and he gives me updates, different information that we in our community. So some of this information is kind of fueled by conversations with Dr. Dobbs over the past few months. I want this to be a conversation between us, so feel free to turn your and jump in or raise your hand or however. I can't see everyone, so feel free to just interrupt me. Do y'all hear? Is there someone talking? I don't know what that was. Anyway, all right, well, let's get started. Adults of volunteerism during COVID. First things first, Are we there?
Ma'am.
Oh, there
There's
we
no
go.
sound.
Okay,
There you go.
okay.
Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. I think the weather is kind of messing with my internet at home. Sorry. One of those things. Okay, just jump in. We need, as directors of volunteers, to not wait until something happens in our organization. We are the people responsible for what happens in our facilities, and it's that we have an action plan, protocols before volunteers even enter our spaces, enter our room. We need to know what we want them to do and what we don't want to do, what we're going to do if something happens. We need to have a plan. I want us to commit to being proactive and not reactive volunteer directors. And on that note, we do need to have COVID protocols. And to kind of give you some examples of what they look like, these are 100 just suggestions. It's up to you and your staff and your board to decide exactly what your organization is going to do. And I would love to hear from y'all what some of your COVID protocols are in your facility. So let's just kind of get through. Here's some of what you could say volunteers are expected to do when they're in your facility. So maybe they have to wear a mask or a negative test, be vaccinated, complete a questionnaire about exposure in the last 2 weeks, all of those things. What are some things that y'all have done in your facilities?
Jamie. Well, I know, were you asking us to answer this question?
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, please.
I know with us, especially with the AmeriCorps team, there were definitely guidelines where if you were not a part of their team, they did not want you to eat with them. If they were indoors, you definitely had to have on a mask at all times. So the COVID guidelines with them were great, in my opinion.
Anybody else care to share?
For the Mississippi Children's Museum, we definitely require our volunteers to wear masks and definitely communicate immediately if they have been exposed and or have COVID. We don't do a questionnaire or anything of that nature, but we do constantly communicate in reference to that. We back in 2020, we installed a filtration system for our heating and air. So all of our air that's being circulated through our HVAC system is being disinfected and killing germs, things of that nature. We did and do require at all of the stations throughout the museum their hand sanitizing station as well. We encourage that when they can't get to the bathroom to wash their hands immediately, but definitely when they're engaging with their guests to wear the mask as well.
Gotcha. Thank you, Sharon. That's so good to know. We go to the Children's Museum all the time, and that makes me feel better. There's being disinfected. That's incredible. Anybody else care to share? Okay. Well, there's also, we have to have protocols in place for what are we going to do exposure in our facility. So say you have that was in your facility volunteering on Saturday, Monday morning, you get the dreaded phone call. I've tested positive for COVID. What do you do? Do you notify all of those volunteers? Do you have a way that you close down and disinfect the facility? There are tons of different things you could do, but it is 100% something that we should be thinking about. What are we going to do to prevent an outbreak at this point? What are we going to do to let people have the right to know if they've been exposed to COVID? And so that's our job, to have things in place. This one's a really big to me. It's something that I have experienced firsthand, is don't assume that everyone has the same comfort level when it comes to COVID. Yes, ma'am. Sharon, did you have something you wanted to?
No, I was just, my peers are saying good morning and I'm just,
Gotcha. Okay, I'm sorry.
no
Just
worries.
wanted to make sure that you had room. So don't assume that everyone has the same comfort level. We have to remember that as directors of volunteers, the people that are making the decisions, that we need to see things from the perspective of our volunteers. We need to especially take into consideration things that may make a person or a volunteer more susceptible or vulnerable to COVID. If their age, previous illnesses, vaccination status, if they're a caregiver for someone in their home, if they have small children in their home or children with different disabilities that would cause them to be more vulnerable to COVID. We just really, really, really need to put on the hat of that we're making the decisions for and say, what would you be comfortable with? So that brings us to our do of this one is do ask volunteers what they're comfortable with. Don't be afraid to give options for your volunteer opportunities. You can ask people, do you prefer in person? Would you rather do a remote volunteer opportunity? Would you rather be indoors or outdoors? What is it that you would do? Has anyone maybe put something like this into practice and offered volunteers the option of doing something indoor or outdoor or moving something to a larger space that they could share about what that was like?
Well, I always say, you know, because a lot of our volunteers are engaging and hands-on with our guests throughout the gallery areas, we do communicate if they feel for whatever reason that they're uncomfortable with the amount of people in a particular gallery area, they need to definitely let us know. There are garden opportunities as well and different other opportunities from our staff that they could actually help us with if they are uncomfortable, if our guests attendance has increased and they just don't feel that comfortable being around a large crowd. So we do offer other opportunities from that point as well, but nothing remote for me at this time. But we do have indoor and outdoor projects if weather permits.
Gotcha. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I know remote volunteer opportunities, they're kind of hard for us to wrap our minds around us. I had one organization that they're trying to brainstorm what they offer as a remote volunteer opportunity, and we kind of came up with like data entry and maybe social media prep and design. Like if you had someone that could make great social media, maybe manage a Facebook page, that kind of stuff. That is kind of a hard one, but definitely us to brainstorm about and kind of figure out if there are opportunities within your organization that someone could do that. So another thing is that we do need to look for ways to meet at their comfort levels. This might be moving a project outdoors or to a larger room, if that's possible, the number of volunteers that we allow to gather inside of smaller spaces, pairing volunteers together if they live in the same household, and then looking for projects that can be done remotely. And finally, it's just really important for us to remember that we're all in this together. This is new waters for all of us. Everyone's trying to figure it out, and what someone might be comfortable with last week, they might not be comfortable with this week, as COVID is ever changing. The guidelines are ever changing, and as cases fluctuate. So we just kind of be with it and figure it out as we go. So do any of you have any ideas, things that have worked in your organization? Okay, well, if not, I'm going to turn it over to, yeah.
I'm sorry. Okay, I read it on the screen. I couldn't, your audio was fading in and out, so I wasn't sure the last thing you said, but I think you just said what was on the screen there. Thank you.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yes. So, Elizabeth, how do I make Tony the host? I don't think I have that option. I think you're gonna have to do that.
I
Elizabeth,
think
you're on mute.
Elizabeth may have to do that.
All right, I think I'm the host.
Woohoo!
Before you begin, Tony, I would just like to say, Jamie, great presentation.
It
And
was good information.
that was
Thank
really,
you.
really good, informative information. So I thank you. And please, after this meeting, if you would mind sending us that presentation, that would be great.
Mhm.
Yeah, I will definitely send it. And I'm sorry the audio is kind of fading out. Like I said, the weather messes up my Wi-Fi so bad. So
No, you're fine. You're fine.
Mhm.
All right, Tony, we're excited to see what you have to say.
Awesome. Well, give me 1 second and pull this presentation up. Jamie, I didn't answer a lot of your questions just because I was going to cover them in my PowerPoint, so I didn't want you to think I was just being quiet for the sheer heck of it. But let's see. All right. Can y'all see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Oh, I want to display settings and swap. All right, and y'all can see the full size and not the presenter view.
Mhm.
Wonderful, wonderful. All right, so I've kind of put together Volunteering in the COVID Age, a case study at the Mississippi Department of Archives and History, and by no means any of the information that I go over am I going to say it is the right thing to do. I'm just going to tell y'all what I did during COVID. The biggest thing I'd like to share is I kind of took over in this position in December of 2019. So it was kind of my first time leading the volunteers. I kind of took the reins over from Elizabeth, who had led this program for so many years and built it up into such a great program that it was. And I was very excited and very ambitious about hitting the ground running. Really and truly, the first big projects that we did is we had our annual volunteer appreciation banquet in February, which is where all of our volunteers who have 20 hours or more, who have served 20 hours or more during the calendar year, are invited to a luncheon, and we just kind of love on them and appreciate them for everything that they do. We announced some of the big volunteers who have served more than 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 hours during the year, and kind of really love on them as well. But then the next big thing that we did was Thursday, March the 12th, 2020, was a volunteer enrichment to talk about our upcoming exhibition, Mississippi Distilled, Prohibition, Piety, and Politics. This exhibit was going to open on March 21st and discuss the history of Mississippi's alcohol history from the colonial period all through present day. So we invited the volunteers in to give them a presentation about the upcoming exhibit and kind of give them some sneak peeks before the public was coming in. And I had worked it out with collections and exhibits that they were actually going to get to go into the exhibition hall and see some of the installation process. So we were really excited. However, during this presentation, I took a break to get a bottle of water and bring in one of our exhibit curators to kind of speak to the volunteers. And our HR director, Diane Maddox, approached me and asked me to make the announcement that tomorrow, March 13th, we would be closing the sites to the public. I was completely taken aback. I did not see this coming whatsoever. I knew about COVID. I kind of saw everything. I kind of saw the writing on the walls, and I'd been dealing with probably a handful of volunteers who had said, "Hey, Tony, there's this virus on the West Coast, and I'm kind of worried about it. So I'm going to take some time and step back and just take some time off." And we were like, "Yeah, no problem. That sounds great." Because we get visitors from all over the country and all over the world. So that made complete sense. So then I had the duty of getting back on stage and letting everyone know that all this information that I just shared about the upcoming exhibition opening and such was going to be postponed, and that we were going to be closing the site down on March 13th. To kind of piggyback off of what Jamie said, I was a reactive director. I did not see this coming. And you will see through this presentation that almost every decision I made was reactive. There were several things that I was proactive about that I was very excited, but you will see that it's honestly lots of twists and turns that come down the road. So I hope y'all enjoy my slide titles, because I kind of had some fun with that, because if you can't have fun with it at this point, I don't know what else we can do. But so March 13th, MDAH makes the decision to close sites and offices to the public as the COVID pandemic hits. Volunteers are alerted of this announcement. I wrote out an email to all of them at this point, letting them know that no one is coming on site, both staff and visitors, and that we are not sure what the future holds at this point. Honestly, the word that we were hearing was it sounded like it was only going to be a couple of weeks, and we were hoping to be open by April 1st. But I made the decision, along with my HR team and our administration, to be completely transparent with all of the volunteers and let them know that I would keep them up to date on all the news that we had moving forward. That meant that I initiated a weekly email. I started sending out kind of, hey, this is what's going on. This is what we're hearing at home. This is what our director, Katie Blunt, is saying. And as soon as I hear anything, I will let you know. I think that that was the most important thing that I decided during COVID, was being completely transparent with the volunteers. They appreciated it. They could tell by my tone in some cases that they were being kept in the loop, and we weren't hiding anything from them at all. So now we play the waiting game. Initially, we went home and the rest of the state was still open. I kept the open line with volunteers. Like I said, I gave out my personal cell phone number, encouraged them to contact me with any questions they had, either through email or through my cell phone. I told them if they needed anything whatsoever, even if it wasn't volunteer related, because we have a lot of experienced and older individuals. So I wanted to let them know that if they needed me for anything, I wanted to help them out, because again, I was in Jackson. My family was up in the Delta. So again, I have some older parents, so I know what it's like to not have your kids at home. And I just wanted to provide them with any assistance that they might need going forward. And like I said, we were kind of sending out that weekly email to let them all know. This was sent out to about 600 recipients in our Volunteerism system. Most weeks I didn't have any real news to report. And in many cases, I just sent them an email to let them know, hey, I was thinking about them. After the second or third week, I believe I started asking questions. I was like, hey, what's everybody doing to pass the time? Does anybody have any book recommendations this week? Does anybody have any new hobbies that they've taken up? I took up baking at one point and told them that I was basically making a mockery of baking in my kitchen and needed their help. So luckily they were providing me some feedback on the sourdough starter that I had made, and the muffins that I was attempting to make, and the jalapeno plants that I had planted in my yard. And we did have probably 2-3 dozen people that were kind of really excited about just whatever the topic was that week, and kind of added their 2 cents, which I thought that was a great way to do it. So 3 weeks went by, and on April 1st, the governor issued the statewide shelter in place, and the weekly emails began to take a turn. And I started not only kind of just saying, hey, we're thinking about you, but I was also kind of reporting any CDC regulations that I was hearing. Anything that was being officially announced by Dr. Dobbs, I would copy and paste directly into our email. And I tried to include themes with the emails. I also invited various individuals just to write a personalized letter to the volunteers. We had our volunteer coordinators at the Welty House, Rachel Lott, and our volunteer coordinator at the 2 Mississippi Museums, Justin Ellis, and a few other people. Each week would kind of write and kind of host the email and be like, hey, we're thinking about you. Wish we could see your face. Hey, do y'all remember this time at the museums when we were doing this project? So on and so forth. but yeah, it was a crazy time that we were just still kind of working through, and each week was a new game. So I found this quote during COVID. And I remember kind of talking to individuals about it. It's behind every mask, there's a face, and behind that, a story. Various individuals began letting me know that they were volunteering to sew masks for different organizations. When I would hear about these organizations, I would ask them to kind of give me their contact information so that I could send their contact information out to our volunteer pool, hoping that any of our 600 volunteers in logistics that were interested in becoming a part of these programs could become a part of them. With our sites closed, I thought it was important to direct anywhere we could. With hundreds of volunteers, I thought it best if we couldn't utilize them in our system to help out other people who had some type of remote work in place. So I know a lot of organizations started sewing masks, and I think about 6 to 12 of our volunteers definitely kind of hopped on that program and started helping sew masks. Another organization was the Civil War and Reconstruction Governors of Mississippi Project at the University of Southern Miss. This was a great project that kind of sent out digitized versions of Civil War governors' letters. So stuff that was written in 1860s style pen script was sent out to people that were volunteering to help transcribe all of these letters so that future researchers could be a part of it. I think we had probably about 5 volunteers that hopped on that program and took part in that. And it was just really trying to find out where we could plug and play with our volunteers and get them involved. Because I was going crazy inside my house, so I can't imagine what everybody else was doing inside theirs. I had also just moved in with my fiance in February of 2020. And then March 2020, we went into lockdown. So we learned a lot about each other real fast. Luckily, we're married now, so everything turned out great. The next big project that kind of came out was the Two Mississippi Museums Be a Curator series. The Two Mississippi Museum staff started this video series where they would go through their house and kind of talk about an object in their home that was important to them and explain to the public, hey, history isn't things that are hundreds of years old. It can be a family heirloom. It can be something that you collect, etc. And I was really excited that we had 2 volunteers that not only took this to heart, but made videos, and the museums then shared these videos. On the left over here, we have Mary Lorenz talking about various quilts in her house. Mary is a retired curator for the Department of Archives and History, so she went into a in-depth history with her quilts and kind of brought in some of the quilts that we have in our museums. And then Mike Daly is one of our great volunteers that works at various sites. And he's a coin collector. So he was talking about some of the coins in his collection and related it to some of the coins that we had on display in the Museum of Mississippi History. So it was really cool to kind of see how some of the volunteers were able to get engaged and get involved if they wanted to. Let's see. A light at the end of the tunnel. I should have put a question mark at the end of that tunnel right there. Staff began going back in waves to the office during mid-May. To kind of give you an idea, we had A and B days. I'm in a suite that has about 4 individuals working in it, and there would probably be 1 to 2 people here at any given time just to kind of promote social distancing. The date of July 7th was set for the reopening of the 2 Mississippi museums with limited capacity. If I remember correctly, I think the Museum of Mississippi History had a max number of 100 individuals being allowed in, and the Civil Rights Museum was going to be allowed to have about 70 individuals allowed in at one time. So if it gives you an idea, if y'all have been to these sites, we've had hundreds if people in at one time, and these galleries can hold 20 or 30 people, but in the Civil Rights Museum, for example, there are 8 galleries, and we were only allowing about 70 people in to really promote social distancing. Due to the limited capacity and extreme COVID protocol in place, it was decided to wait to bring back MDAH volunteers for at least 1 month. That was just to kind of see and take stock of what was going on in the building and how it was working. Was this something that we were going to be able to do to promote safety and their well-being? Were we about to start? I mean, I'll be completely transparent with y'all. One of my worries was we were going to reopen and we were going to become a hub for outbreak cases. And I really didn't want some of our volunteers becoming a part of that. So we kind of held back for them just to kind of take stock of what was going on. And I began to audit across the department, asking each section head if they had any work that could be completed by volunteers remotely. This is kind of talking a little bit about what Jamie was leading to with remote volunteering. Sadly, most work that could be done by volunteers remotely had already been assigned or completed by staff that was working from home during the previous few months. So one of the sections that I reached out to, though, was the archaeology museum collection. And we were just talking and they were like, we really don't really have any. Most people, when I went out to them and asked for remote projects, were thinking about data entry. So sending out Excel sheets and sending out various documents and kind of getting people to move that information over into an Excel sheet. And I was really telling people to think outside the box. Is there anything that we can do that's not data entry, that's maybe something that we can send to them? And in most cases, we can't send our historical documents and such off-site, so that's kind of just an immediately stop sign. But I was sitting in the suite with the archaeology team, and I mentioned, I was like, look, some of the projects that they worked on are these governor's papers and so on and so forth, and they've been sewing masks. And our director of archaeological collection immediately just had a light bulb moment. And she started telling us kind of about the repatriation process that they were in the middle of. And they were returning collections that included human remains and funerary artifacts to tribal nations that had been in the hands of the state of Mississippi for decades now. Each artifact that is returned to a tribal nation had to be wrapped in a muslin bag. That's 100% cotton muslin. The tie, the drawstring, the thread, everything had to be cotton, because these artifacts and remains in many cases were going to be reburied on tribal land, and muslin is 100% biodegradable. The problem is these bags are very expensive, and the grants that they were applying for would only cover so much of the muslin bags, so they were going to have to start paying for these out of pocket. However, an alternative is raw muslin, thread, and this drawstring are very cheap. And so we started putting together kind of a process of, could we sew these bags? We came up with kind of templates for about 4 different sizes, and I kind of reached out to volunteers that I know had taken part in the sewing project, and I'd asked if anybody was kind of interested in this. And I was blown away. We had about 20 people right off the bat say, we're really interested in this. This is a very important project. Once we explained what was going on, and they really jumped on it. Within a few months, over 1,500 bags had been sewn, which allowed us to really kind of jumpstart the repatriation process, because in some cases we were having to wait to get this muslin in, get all these artifacts wrapped up so that we could repatriate it back to the tribes. But because our volunteers kind of stood up and were like, hey, we can do this, they really jumped in and allowed us to repatriate faster than other organizations were doing during the COVID process. It is something that I am still amazed about. It's something that I'm so excited that we were able to do. And it's a very big example of thinking outside the box when it comes to how can we engage with our volunteers. In most cases, the volunteers, we would start with a care package. So what we did was I would take a paper box and fill it up with the raw ingredients. So just raw sheets of muslin, the thread and the drawstring, along with the template to use to create the bags. And then I would sanitize up. I remember completely rolling up my sleeves and wiping down my arms completely and hands, and double masking, putting on a face shield like this one right here, putting on gloves and so on. And then I would go out and put these boxes in the trunks of cars as the volunteers would drive by to pick up their materials. I let them kind of keep up with their hours at home. And then when they were out of material, we would do the same process. If they wanted more, we would kind of switch out boxes, or if they wanted to take a break, I would just pick the box up from their trunk. I think this was really something that we were able to do, and I'm very excited that we were able to do it. Other opportunities, we did have some data entry that came across, so we were able to get probably another half dozen volunteers plugged into some data entry projects. But again, most of those were taken over by staff while they were in quarantine and waiting to come back to work. So this kind of led up to August. And when August came around, we decided that we were going to try to welcome back volunteers in limited numbers. Previously, we had volunteers plugged in several different locations in the building. We could have at any given time 12, 15 volunteers, but we made the decision to only allow about 3 volunteers per shift. That was to go with our social distancing, and to also go into account that we were trying to keep limited numbers of individuals in the building. We asked volunteers to wear masks. We asked them to answer the same COVID questions that our staff answered. So every day at work when we came in, our computer would prompt us, had we been in contact with anybody in the last 14 days? Were we feeling all right? Did we have any symptoms? So on and so forth. So I took these same questions and we put them at the front desk. And when volunteers signed in, it said, by signing in, you agree to the following questions. So they were answering the same questions that the staff members were answering at the time. But at the same time, we really embraced some of the following language, because it's like Jamie said, everybody comes back at different points. Just because we're ready doesn't mean every volunteer is ready. So I remember, and I kind of pulled the emails, and I'm going to kind of read straight from one of my emails that went out about August 2020. And it was, please take your time and let us know what we can do to make you comfortable. Just because you're not ready now doesn't mean that you're not one of our volunteers. You are still an MDAH volunteer. So take your time and we will be ready when you are ready to return. If there's anything that we can do with our guidelines or practices to make you more comfortable on your return, please let us know. And slowly but surely volunteers started coming back. So I really wanted to kind of tag into Jamie's statement right there about making sure volunteers are comfortable, and making sure that everybody, it feels like they are a part of the decision-making process and feels like they are entering a safe atmosphere. This led into a new monthly email. So my weekly email, because I was running out of things to talk about, turned into a monthly email. And as you can see, I kind of just talked about the holidays coming up, and talked about the museums that had opened 3 years before, and just letting them know various information that was going on throughout the sites. This was something that everybody really liked, and it allowed them to also have some input, because just like I was doing, asking people if they had had any hobbies that they had taken up, I also asked if anybody had anything that they wanted to share in the monthly email. So in some cases, oops, sorry, my phone's going crazy right now. In some cases, I think the November one, it says seasons change and the holidays are around the corner. So I asked anybody if they were exploring Mississippi, if they had any pictures that they had taken, to please send them in to me and I would share them in the next email. And we were able to kind of put those things in and let them feel like they were a part. However, in December of 2020, the numbers began to rise again. And I made the decision, I went and spoke to our HR director and the director of the department, that with the numbers going up, I think this was when they started getting in the thousands per day. I decided to suspend all on-site volunteering until after the first of the year. Some of the volunteers were very thankful and appreciated us being proactive about this. And that helped make us feel like we were doing the right thing. So that was something that we really took into account. Luckily, the number of cases began to lower after the first of the year, and we were able to welcome back volunteers on site in, I think, late February. So one thing at this point is it's been a year, and we did a socially distanced volunteer appreciation. So this picture over here on the left is February 2020 with that luncheon that we held for all of our volunteers. Well, 1 year later, the biggest thing is we didn't have volunteers that served. We didn't have a lot of volunteers that served over 20 hours. I think we had about, I want to say 24, maybe 36 people that served over. I think it was about 36 people that served over 20 hours. So the first thing that I did is I was talking to our board president at the time, Judge Reuben Anderson, and he really wanted to do something to make these volunteers know that we appreciated their service over the last year. One of the things that the department worked on during this time was the flag retiring and issuing of a new state flag. So all volunteers that served over 20 hours were given a full-size new Mississippi state flag. That's what's in these bags right here, with a kind of a handwritten thank you note from my team. Then all other volunteers that were appreciated at the 2020 luncheon were sent a handwritten note with a flag decal for their car or for their house or whatever. So I remember handwriting 150 cards in February of 2021, and my handwriting looks atrocious. So I'm going to go ahead and let you know that while handwritten notes are great, and I got a lot of feedback and a lot of positive benefits from that, it took a month and a half to write those notes. But it just let everybody know, hey, we're thinking about you. Even if it was people that we hadn't seen since March of 2020, we knew that they had their reasons for staying away, and we just wanted to let them know that we were still thinking about them, and that hopefully we were going to get to another side of this sooner or later and figure out what the world was going to do. So forging ahead, this is where I'm going to kind of wrap it up. Over the past year, so that's we're coming up on a year mark since that socially distanced appreciation. Our volunteer numbers have fluctuated across the department. We've had waves of Delta, we've had waves of Omicron, we've had various things happen in the state. So honestly, on any given day, we may have one volunteer in the building. On some of the busier days, we may have 2 or 3 volunteers, but honestly, the volunteers are very much keeping up with all the CDC, all of Dr. Dobbs, everything on the news, and they are making their own decisions, which I think is great. The Eudora Welty House is very small spaces, so tours went from, I think, a maximum of 8 people to a maximum of 3 people. And because the house is so small, that staff didn't want to utilize volunteers in that space in case there was any type of outbreak in the house. So we really wanted to promote safety there. However, the garden volunteers now meet every Wednesday. So they went from meeting probably once a month to every Wednesday and are able to serve out in the garden. And those numbers have been increasing with people bringing friends to kind of help pull weeds, help plant new flowers. I went back during their first meeting after we started reinitiating it. I think that was probably spring of 2021, and I spent an hour and a half pulling vines in the garden, talking to some of the volunteers that have been working on this garden for like the last 5 to 10 years. The Governor Mansion tours are no longer walk-up tours, and all must be scheduled in advance. And it has been asked by the first family to only have volunteers when there are tours scheduled. So for our kind of hardcore 25 Governor's Mansion volunteers, they're having to kind of fight over those Governor's Mansion tours. Luckily, Lauren Miller has been allowing people, once they volunteer for one, they kind of put them to the back of the line so other people have a chance to kind of sign up for those. And then the 2 Mississippi museums, like I said, is kind of our main place, and it's our biggest area to spread out. Programming is just now starting to get back in person, but it's been mostly virtual programming. So that means we haven't needed any volunteers for those programs. Our numbers are nowhere near what they were pre-COVID, which is completely understandable. I mean, it is a trend in museums across the country and the world. So it's something that we are definitely learning with. Like I said, the fluctuating cases, each wave presents its new problems, and we have to go back to the drawing board. And at all times, the safety of our volunteers is my primary concern. So we just, I think in one of my initial drafts, it was rolling with the punches and riding the waves of COVID was the title of this last slide. So it honestly is a week to week, day to day situation of what are we going to do to best serve our volunteers. And that's all I have. So I hope that during this case study, y'all might have learned a little bit, maybe something that you didn't know before, or something maybe that could help you in the future. Like I said, what we did may not be the best situation, but it was the decisions that we made with the information that we were given. So that's all I got.
Kudos. I'm
Thank
so
you
proud of
so
Tony.
much. You did such an amazing job.
Thank
Do y'all
you.
have any questions for Tony?
I'm just so proud of him. I'm just about to burst. So happy. He's made me so happy. This is wonderful. Very creative. I'm just so happy. I'm going to cry.
No, don't do that, Elizabeth.
I'm just really thrilled. But what a great presentation by both you and Jamie.
Yes, I agree. I just wanted to say, Jamie, thank you so much, because I really loved that you did sort of a lecture, and then Tony was second, and we planned that serendipitously that Tony then sort of amplified with examples on the things that you had just said. So that was perfect. Excellent job, y'all. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank y'all.
And you all will share that presentation with Michelle so she can send it out, I hope.
You know, I think what we can do, because all of that information is in the video, what we'll do is we'll start putting things, maybe I'll move the section to just the videos from the material, so that if you're looking for something specific, we can find that. So we don't necessarily need to have the presentation because it's already in the video, but I'll let everybody know where that is. And we have a couple of new people who joined. I just wanted to remind you that your DOVIA membership dues are due, because memberships go from January to December each year for everybody. So everybody has now expired, and it's time for everybody to rejoin.
Okay. Well, is that it, Stacy? Do you want to wind everything up for us?
Well, yeah, I just wanted to say thank you to Tony and Jamie. Great presentations. And I wanted to open up the floor to anybody that wanted to let us know what was going on at their place. I see Miss Sylvia there. You want to let us know what's going on at your place?
Yes, good morning. Well, a little disappointed here. Cary Christian Center, which is my main group that I teach virtually with, they have closed the center. And yeah, and I'm very bothered by that. I'm trying to figure out how I can get into the homes of some of the little girls that I've been teaching. There's usually been eight, as I have mentioned, running around the one computer they have. And so after crying for a day or two, I said, no, we're going to regroup. We're going to figure out what to do. So the board is meeting either sometime this month or next month. And I'm going to see if I'm going to be really bold and ask if I can get in that board meeting. I mean, why not? You know, so we'll see. But I also do have possibility of still working with the Chinese students. I have one lady who is home for the holidays still, and she teaches in Ohio the students who actually live in China, and we're working on that. So there's encouragement where there was discouragement. I heard it said a long time ago, if there's disappointment, well, then just get reappointed. You know, so we're not going to be disappointed. We're going to be reappointed. And that's all the updates I have.
Well, I am sorry to hear about the school closing, but I'm happy to hear that you just picked yourself up and you encouraged yourself, and you are continuing to motivate and do things to help others. That's what we do. So I definitely appreciate you doing that. So things will get better, Miss Sylvia. Trust me, they will. well, trust God, not Stacy, but things will get better. Krista, I see you on the line. What's going on?
Hi. I really enjoyed hearing Jamie and Tony. Thank you so much for that. And it's good to see all your faces. The Give Awards, nominations for the Give Awards have gone out. I hope everybody has received that email. If you haven't, please let me know. Yes, we will have the Give Awards this year. I cannot say exactly what form they will take. Last year we had a very small ceremony at the governor's mansion. Just the recipients, and they could only bring one person, and so it was. And then we had socially distanced lunch there, and it was very nice, but of course not the usual large event. And of course everybody couldn't come, not even our commissioners or our staff. So it was kind of they loved it. So I don't know if it's going to have to be that. And then of course we did a virtual event. It may be that again. It might be something a bit bigger. I'm going to keep everybody informed, but we did honor those recipients. And they received the awards and other things and videos. So please nominate somebody for a Give Award. We will promise to honor them and make them feel very, very special. So hoping everybody can come, but we just don't know. So that's out there, and the deadline is February 8th. And that's we're working from home once again until I think everybody I talked to, somebody has tested positive, unfortunately. And it's even though they have very, very strict building regulations for COVID, we can't have any outside people come in, those kinds of things. It's just so contagious. And so everybody at our office is now working from home again with our dogs. And so hopefully, as Tony said, maybe we can see the light at the end of the tunnel very soon. We're just gonna keep that in our thoughts. And anyway, it's good to see everybody. And that's about all I've got. Thanks.
Thank you so much for that update. We definitely appreciate it. And yes, everybody needs to submit somebody. We all have somebody to submit. Is there anybody else?
Celebrations are very important right now, and recognizing wonderful people that can uplifting things are so important. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, Krista. Does anybody else have anything? Sharon, what's going on?
Our next big event is actually going to be our Dr. Seuss, which is the end of February 26th, but we are still open on the weekends. And for those of you who do not know, in partnership with Blue Cross Blue Shield and the Mississippi Natural Science Museum, we have our outdoor park, which we opened December 4th. And it's just a great opportunity for the youth to come out and enjoy. And it has really, the participation has been really overwhelming, guys. I'm not sure if anyone want to show today, but it's always a crowd out there.
Yeah, I have a question about that. Every time I pass by there, it is a crowd. How are they counting cars, counting people? How are they? I mean, I know it's outside, but how are they keeping them safe? I guess that's my question.
Now the different exhibits in the park, they are actually spaced out as well. So they definitely have a lot of areas to social distance from that standpoint. I do know from the guard station for the Natural Science Museum have been moved. I will circle back with our development director just to see how they're tallying that. My comments on the attendance was just from sight, because every day seemed like the parking area is just jam packed, and I do walk through there a lot as well, but I'll definitely get a firm count on that, and it is free. So from that standpoint as well, that's a huge draw for those parents and guardians that really want to get those small children out and really get some outdoor activity in.
And if I can add, my very out there all the time, there are hand sanitizer stations that are like kid size, kind of fun. They're different looking, kind of funky. And so all the kids are sanitizing constantly because it's cool looking. So
Yes. Thank you, Jamie, for that. You're absolutely correct.
I just love seeing the wood sculpture from the interstate.
Yes.
I keep saying that I'm going to drive by and look at it closer, but every time I see it from the interstate, it just makes me smile.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Sharon. Any other announcements?
I don't know who C. Brown is, but maybe that person has an announcement.
I think C. Brown is a mystery.
Well, I want to know who C. Brown is. Oh, their audio doesn't work.
I've asked them to unmute.
Their audio doesn't work. They've written in the chat.
Oh, okay. I didn't see it.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Which organization are you with, C. Brown? If you don't mind us asking, we're just trying to find out who you are. We can't see you. We can't hear you.
Oh, she's with the Gulf Coast. We remember her. Yes. Hello.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Thank you so much. We appreciate you. And I appreciate everybody on this call. And right now it's time to do some work. So I'm going to go ahead and close the meeting. If all hearts and minds are satisfied, and we'll see you next month. And thank you guys for showing up.
Great presentations. Thank you.